Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thriving Beyond Toxic Relationship. My name is Celivette Guerra. I am your host. Today, I welcome the amazing BRIA BLOUNT. She is a life and mindset coach, a writer, a speaker, and entrepreneur. BRIA is the CEO of her company, Acknowledge Self-Awareness Life Coaching, where she works with women set achievable goals, overcome limiting beliefs, maximize their potential, and ultimately create a lifetime full of inner peace and freedom. And with that, I like to welcome BRIA. Hi, BRIA. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful and just so honored just to be here. You're just so an incredible coach, and what you're doing, I'm just in awe by it.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually very happy to have you here with us and really share your insights. I know your company is Acknowledge Self-Awareness. So I just wanted to maybe ask today if you could give us a little bit more insight as to what is self-awareness for you? What's your definition of self-awareness?
Yeah, most definitely. I think self-awareness is like top of the notch. This is where I kind of start everybody and my clients from. It's the ability to see yourself like in the mirror, the behaviors, the attitude, the things that even is not so great about yourself. The ability to say, hey, this is how I feel today. This is how I act today. And now I'm acknowledging it. And now I can make a choice either to continue acting this way, or I can choose to reprogram and shift my mindset to become a different person. So it's kind of mirroring your behavior, your self-image, the way you see yourself and the way other people see yourself.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And it does create a huge impact, right? When you're in a situation or circumstance of dealing with a toxic relationship, whether you're currently in one or recently coming out of one, becoming self-aware and taking these steps, and this description that you have given us today makes a huge difference, definitely. So
I think it's sometimes can be difficult to see yourself in that light. I definitely had my share of toxic relationships, and I've now changed the perspective and trying to figure out, okay, what did I do wrong? Or what are some things that I could have been or done or said to gotten, it might've been the same outcome, but getting a little bit peace and having a little bit more clarity for myself and realizing the things that I was showcasing was because I was hurt, not because of my authentic self. And I think being self-aware has made me really look in the mirror and figure out sometimes I'm the toxic one, not to blame other people for it.
Yes. And that is a radical acknowledgement, is realizing that. And sometimes it's just we get programmed and we pick up this way of being, and we don't realize it. And it's really just a safety mechanism, or just a way of protecting ourselves, or just being safe, where it's a method of survival that we tend to pick up, the being in a more heavier toxic way.
Most definitely. I always say hurt people, but heal people, heal other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the healing is hard. You have to just acknowledge that you hurt me, but I'm going to turn the other different cheek, and I'm going to give you love instead of giving you hate.
Yes, it's making the decision, right? Whether it's acknowledging it for yourself. You don't need outside validation. You do this all on your own, and it's absolutely true. Healing is difficult, but it can be done.
Yes, hands down.
Now, the second question I have for you is, what would you say is key in developing a method that can successfully serve as a tool to overcome the old ways of being?
Oh, that's such a great question. I always say it's like getting to know you. I think it's so like, people say this so like off the tongue, just got to know yourself. They're like, what does that mean? And I always talk about really understanding your belief versus your values. And so your belief is like the things that kind of came to you as a little child, your first love, understanding like it could be your culture, your faith, your religion, your education. That's kind of like your belief, and your values is the importance. What are the things that you feel is important to you? So that could be happiness, that could be wealth, that could be loyalty, that could be family, that could be friends. And sometimes it can be shifted where your beliefs can also go into your values. But we don't really look at where is my beliefs coming from? What are some things that I'm acknowledging from my parents or whoever raised me that I appreciate? And what are some things that it no longer serves me as me living this adult life? Maybe I should let go of. And what is something that I'm holding true to myself to become a value that has been hindering me to getting to where I need to be? Because ultimately it goes from belief, values, then it goes to your attitude. How do you treat other people? If that's professional, if that's with respect, if that's with love, and then it goes to your behaviors, your self-esteem. How do you feel about yourself? And so ultimately it goes back down to your belief paths. And so when we get to know each other or getting to know ourselves, it's ultimately like, who are we? What is my value? What are some things that I need to have in my life to get my needs met so I can become my authentic self? I can elevate my life. And sometimes we get into a relationship or friendships where it hinder us. I don't understand where I'm going this place, but I'm getting a roadblock. And most of the time is that we don't value whatever the other person is doing, and our value is something deeper. And so sometimes we have to go and look and seek for those people to elevate our beliefs. So I think it's really getting to know you and understanding the difference between those.
I really love this explanation because it reminds me, a lot of people might be familiar with this one, but I remember being in a relationship where, my belief was if I told him what I needed or what I wanted and he did it because I told him, it didn't count. Right. That is so common. And it's a belief that you picked up as you were growing older. Right. And it's one that I was really blind to at the time during a relationship I had. And I used to do it all the time. So again, it's like you say, it's not that you want to do the things, is that you really honestly don't know any better. This is the belief, this is the programming, and you're blind to it until you actually stay still enough to acknowledge and look within, right? Well, that's what you practice in your coaching business, and really see those blind spots. It's almost reparenting yourself of, okay, this is a belief, but now that I'm this age, now that I'm this old, now that, my parents or whomever raised me did their best, what can I do that really benefits me, that I can feel fulfilled, that I can feel happy? And that's what we look at, we address, and we could reframe it. We could shift it to something that better serves us. Definitely.
That's the biggest things, and accepting it, understanding that it's okay that we no longer believe what our parents believe in. Exactly. Like, it's okay to want different from your mom or your dad. Sometimes they can push you into that direction, but knowing that if you ultimately want to have peace in this world, you have to be okay saying no. You have to be okay being like, this is my belief, this is my value, and I'm standing on it because I'm finding happiness in it. I'm finding what I want. And I think it's always hard. Family is your greatest love and it's your greatest pain. And so we have to kind of have that balance. It's like respect, happiness, but knowing that this is who I am. And ultimately, people respect you for it because you will find your happiness and you will find your peace. And then they want to find their happiness and peace when you start acknowledging what you believe in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. And family they're tricky, but they're the biggest catalyst for us to create that shift because it allows us to set the boundaries. Like, I love me enough and I respect me enough now that I don't feel comfortable. I don't like how this feels or, this approach. And whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't mean it's right. There is no right. What's right for you is not right for me. It's just a matter of that. This is what I want to feel more of going forward. So it makes complete sense. And family members and close friends allows us to do that. And once we clear that space of maybe even detaching from who we were once, right? Because we were toxic at one point, or we were experiencing the unhealthy at one point. And once we're trying to detach from that, part of the boundaries is also letting go of those people and friends that are no longer part of where you're heading going forward.
Yes. And it's not easy. And it's
No,
okay. And it's
it
okay
is
because it's
okay.
not supposed to be easy. If you want to try to build your character, you have to go through your trials. You have to go through those sufferings, those hard times. Because in order to build your character, you have to go through the lessons. And lessons comes with adversity. And so being okay that, you know, and I think this is one of the things, it's about like your heart. Like
Oh,
if you if you want to know if it's your heart or not, your heart is always going to challenge you to be the best version of yourself. And in order to do that, you have to go through the struggle because you cannot learn when you're comfortable. And
absolutely.
you have to go through it. And when it's time to like put in boundaries of your family or letting go, which I think is sometimes can be hard, you have to ultimately make it your own reasons and be like, this is for me, because we always want to do other people's way or make everybody else happy, even though to get our validation, to make us feel better. Ultimately, long run, you are against you and you have to do things for you.
Now, when it comes to the emotions of grief and the role the ego plays when dealing again with a toxic relationship, whether you're in it or separating from one, what can you say or share with us today? What's the difference between that?
Oh man, your ego. It is like it's your love and your hate. It's a love and hate relationship. It plays a big role. So your ego is like your self-esteem. It's what you feel like is importance to you. And usually the foundation starts when you're little, whoever gave you that validation, whoever made you feel that beautiful or made you feel like, wow, kind of like make your self-esteem. And it is this, again, about the heart and your ego. So your ego is the one that validates you. Usually when you're going with your ego, it's always easy. It's always like, man, that was easy. That was fun. You know, I feel great. This and that. And your heart is more like, oh, that's hard. I don't want to go that way. It's too much. But that's the one that's going to grow you, make you a better person. It's going to drive you. And one of the biggest things to figure out if this is my validation or my ego is to realize which one is kind of the harder road that you know is going to make you a better person. And we can get into relationships most of the time, sometimes just to validate our ego because it feels good or because, he's like, giving me love bombing me. He's doing all these things that I want to hear. And sometimes we get into relationships just to heal the girl or to heal the boy. And we realize that we're in a child relationship instead of an adult relationship. And figuring out what are the things that you gain from validation? Where do you get your validation from? As well as what are the relationships what is keeping that relationship? Are you keeping these friendships because they validate you? Are you keeping the relationships because you're getting validated? Or are you really getting value from it? Is it really serving your heart? Is it really going to change you? You need something to build your character. And I think when it comes to grief, it's okay going through these hard times. One of my best friends, I remember I got out to a really bad relationship. And I remember I was on the phone with her talking to her about it. And I was like, man, I feel like crap today. Like, I just want to feel like crap. And she told me, she's like, you know what? Feel like crap. She said, take 24 hours to feel like crap. She's like, go out, get sushi. I love sushi. Go out, get sushi, go watch TV. She was just like, rerun shows, do whatever you got to do to feel like crap. And then she said, when you get up in the morning, you're going to get up at 6 a.m. You're going to work out. You're going to do your business. You're going to go and make an impact on this world. She said, you can allow yourself 24 hours, but that's it. You no longer you cannot serve that part of you no more. And you continue to grow and continue to get up. And since then, that has been such a value in my life because of that. And I think being okay that it hurts. Like when you're going through toxic breakups, when you're going through breakups with your friends, it sucks and it hurts. But acknowledging like, you know what, this relationship didn't serve me. It actually did. It served me in some way where I learned from mistakes. But right now, it's no more along in my life now. But I feel sad or I feel angry. And when we can acknowledge how we feel, we don't have to cope from it. We don't have to make up from drugs, from other relationships, from drinking. We can say, this is how I feel right now. I'm going to feel this way for a little bit. but I'm going to do things to build that character. I'm going to learn from the message. What are the things that I grew? What are the things that I gather from this? And that is really, I think, the grieving process. Be okay with grieving, but don't stay there. Don't stay there for too long. Know that you're worthy and you got out of it, and you can build and get better. And now you can serve somebody else, and you contribute, and you tell your story to impact somebody else's life.
I love it. I love it. And as you're sharing, your insights with grief and ego, when you were speaking regarding the ego, it reminded me one of the most challenging things when in a toxic relationship is really giving yourself permission to say, it's okay to end this, because we were brought up that it's considered a failure, right? If your relationship doesn't work, some way, somehow it falls on you. You failed some way, or you're damaged goods, or you're unwanted, you're rejected. And it has all this additional heavy load where it's easier to just stay in there. It makes it easier to stay stuck because you don't want to look, or you don't want to take that step towards that direction, because you have this pillar in front of you, really preventing you from getting to the other side. But now when we stop enough and we do the self-awareness and we look at these beliefs, right, that they're brought to us, and we say, this doesn't have to mean this. Ending a relationship with a toxic partner does not need to equal that there's something wrong with me. It does not need to equal that I'm the cause of it. There's no one's at fault. Sometimes that's just the answer to it is, it just wasn't. You're both in a place where you need growth, and you already extended the best capable growth that you were going to gain, and within that relationship, that was the season, and now it's time to move forward. So with the ego, that plays a really large role that keeps you stuck, is the example that came to mind as you were expressing yourself. And the other one was in regards to grief, absolutely being okay with crying, absolutely being okay with feeling the pain. But I think the biggest one I learned is understanding or coming to the new realization that just because you're no longer in that person's life, and part of your grief, a lot of the pain comes with the belief that because you're separating from them, you have to hate them. Mm-hmm. And my personal experience was, I have to hate them because they're toxic and I'm separating from them. And that actually caused me more pain, instead of understanding that I am a lovable person. I am caring and loving, and I have a huge heart. It's just a matter of giving myself permission to say, it's okay to love them, just in a different way, from afar. You don't need to be part of my life for me to still love you in a different level, because right now I have to love me more. Right. Yeah. And that allowed me to keep pushing, and that allowed me to accept the grief in a more loving, open way.
So powerful. One of the things I love to talk about in the relationships is like people in your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. And of course, everybody's for that. And when those seasonal shifts, where you have two options every day. You can either repeat or you can evolve. Mm-hmm. And usually people are like, I get in the same relationships all the time, same guy. It's usually there's a lesson in there that you haven't. Yeah. And so you keep repeating it until you can acknowledge what is the lesson. And sometimes we go through the season of, we know, because we have the intuition, when the time is done, when this person is in the seasonal. Now we have to reflect and ask ourselves, what was the message in here? And one of a strategy I do with a lot of my clients is have them write out a journal, and kind of like a forgiveness journal, and forgiving yourself and the other person. But you have to write all good things about them. And what are the things that brought you to the value? What type of woman were you out? What are the things that you learned from it? And really get to see the good things about it, because it's easy to think about the person. All you go is right straight to the bad things. Mm-hmm. Oh, he or she did that. This is that. But it's like, what did they brought you something? If it was to teach them or to teach you, you have brought something. And you know, somebody's from a lifetime when you're valuing both partners. And I think the biggest thing is to learn the lessons and be at peace with it. Forgiving yourself for going through, for what you had to go through and the pain that you had to receive, forgiving yourself and knowing that there's a reason behind that. And just got to figure out what it is, and knowing that just because you are split, that does not define your worth. That does not define your failure. You're worth so much greater. It's a part of finding your peace. And people have to understand, when you find your peace, sometimes things have to be taken out of your life in order for you to be at peace. And sometimes relationships have to be like entangled, to be like, you know what, this is not peaceful no more. So I have to get out of it to find another peace, because you are growing and the other person is not, or vice versa. And you have to get somebody that grows you to find your peace, and being okay that your season is done. Just close the door, because when one door closes, 7 doors open, and trust that. And I think most people don't trust it, because it's always in the back of our head. Oh, I'm single. Oh, I'm this and this and that. Oh, I'm a single parent. Oh, I'm this. And it has all this like culture of a shame. And it's not. It's so much learning, so much power is in it from getting out the relationship. So much worth is in that. And if we can turn into strength instead of weaknesses, oh, the power it has is so much worthy there. It's to find yourself.
Yes, I feel this answered my following question was going to be, how can an accountable mindset be of benefit? But it's very true. And I think the major key concept that you provided is really just knowing that they don't determine your worth. A man, a woman, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a best friend, whoever the relationship is with, they do not determine the value that is you. And that right there is tremendous key to allow you to begin that healing process. But if you can't add anything else to the accountable mindset and what it can benefit you, if not, that's fine. I can move on to the next one. But.
Yeah, I love it. It's so huge. It is so huge. And in life, we're going to go through situations and struggles and suffering and all this, things that we're going, because that's what we signed up for and part of this greatness of life. But having an accountability mindset, when you have that, you're allowed to change your perspective. You're allowed to reframe yourself. You're allowed to say, hey, if you are looking for a job, if you're getting a divorce, if you're now having a single mother, you're allowed to say, okay, this is what I'm going through. How can I see the possibilities? How can I see the things that I can change? How do I take this what I'm going through and make it better? And that's what it gives us. You can refrain and you can choose happiness, because if you always focus on the bad things and focus on what you don't have, bad things are just going to happen. But you focus on the possibilities is going to happen. You're going to start taking actions. You're going to start seeing things that you've never seen before. And you're like, wow, I've never been so happy in this type of situation before. And I think that's what it takes to have accountability mindset, is to reframe and to see the other part of you. There's this story that I love to tell. There's these 2 boys, and one of them, they in the barn, and one of them sees like shit in the barn. And he's like, oh my God, get me out of this barn. I need to get out. And he's just angry and upset. And this little boy, he sees the same thing. And he is so excited, because he says, well, with this crap, there has to be a horse. There has to be a pony. There has to be something nearby. And so that is like the 2 difference of change perspective. You can either see that, you can see the shit, or you can see, oh my God, where is the pony? Where is the horse? Who created this? I have to see it. And so those could be those shift changes for in life. And that's how you can have an accountability set that really kind of soars you to make every day seem like there's a pony about to come your way.
That's definitely the positive mindset. And it really starts with us, right? Before we can see it in others. It really has to, you have to allow the time to sit and do self-reflection and look within and just ask yourself the questions. And that's the only way, what is it that you're thinking at the moment? Are you looking from an optimism way or a pessimistic way? And that's pretty much what you summed up with that story.
That's a funny story.
Now, finally, based on your personal opinion, if there was one action step that anyone can take starting today to get out of the confusion, what would that be in your words?
I love that. Clarity. That is the biggest things I would say, because if you don't know what you want in life, how can you get unconfused? Because when you're confused and you lack it. And I think there's a big difference that I love about clarity. And then there's also realistic clarity. So there's a romance clarity where it's like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to get into this romanticized relationships. I want to do this. And so you're just romanticizing about the events, about it could go this way, it could go this way, but there's no action behind it. And so having a realistic clarity is like, okay, I want to get into a healthy relationship. Okay, I need to write down what my values are. I need to heal myself so I can get the relationship that I want. Because ultimately we are reflecting off of the relationship that we gather, that we get. Or if I want to become an entrepreneur, I need to figure out how to start a business. I need to go have a mentorship. I need to get training. I need to get a relationship coach. I need to take actions. And the biggest thing a lot of people talk about is like manifestation, which I think is amazing. But one of the key principles that's missing is taking action. So we can do all the boards of manifestation, right? Out the big house, the big dreams, the big jobs, the relationship that we want. But if we don't take action every single day, it's just a vision board. It's just a board filled with a bunch of paper and a bunch of writing notes. But if you don't take action every day to have a clarity of where you want to be, then it won't work. But if you start every day, it's like, this is what I want. And just claim it. I want a healthy relationship. I want to become an entrepreneurship. I want to, you can do anything. I want to be this type of mother. I want to do that. And each day, start a daily habit once a day. It could be an hour, it could be 30 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, but where you work on your goals for yourself. And once you get clearer and clearer, that's when you kind of get unconfused. And when you start to work on yourself and honor your worth and start to see, what is my worth? You know, if you do not define your worth, somebody else will. And so you have to legit define who you are, and then it will give you clarity. And once you continue to work on yourself, you will start to see everybody else's red flags. You will start to see your friends that you've been hanging out with years. You're like, something about them I'm a little questioned about, but it's because you're understanding who you are and you understanding what you deserve. And you get very, very selective over the space you hang out with people because they influence you. You are the 5 people you hang around with. And so if you're seeing people that you hang around with, that's you becoming toxic. You're just like, ooh, maybe I should stop doing this because you are defining your worth.
Absolutely agree. And that's very beautifully said. I want to say that I agree with everything you said. I would just add the fact that a lot of times we visualize it and we see it in a vision board and everything. But I think sometimes we miss the aspect of actually feeling what it would be like to be in that role, to be in that position, to achieve that goal, and really honing in that feeling, that emotion, because that's where we gain our momentum from, right? That's where, when we feel stuck, because we're going to have the bad days of how am I going to do it, with 4 kids and starting over without him, and he's the provider, or whatever case scenario it is. If you're detaching from a parent and you want to visualize, and it almost seems impossible until you really also include the emotions and the feeling into that equation.
Oh, yes, hands down. You have to feel it. Yes. And I think what I was saying about romanticizing is that I think for years, people get into a dream of like, I want to write a book, and they feel it, they believe it, they escalate it, but then there's nothing behind it. Whereas there's no action behind it. And it's like, of course, I think when you are feeling it and you're believing it, it is a purpose there. Like you're supposed to do that because you ultimately going to answer other people's prayers because you are the foundation for somebody else's answers. And ultimately it's like we get on our own way of fear of like, I don't know how to do this. Well, let's start 2 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, because that is your purpose. That is your dreams. And sometimes we don't do it because we're scared of I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how this is possible. But when you continue feeling it and you continue knowing, and you have people around you that keep pushing, you get to do things that you're like, I had no idea this was possible. It's way beyond of how I even imagined the feeling of, but it's just knowing that I kept that momentum every single day. And I think that's so important, is to feel those emotions, knowing that you already succeeded without even succeeded yet. I think that's very powerful.
Yes, action, 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 and more action. And it's not the size of the action that matters. It's just taking one small step that you didn't take yesterday, but you're doing today. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bria, for being with me today and joining us and sharing your wonderful, amazing insights. If you would like to know more or follow Bria, you can reach her through BriaBlount.com. For those watching, go ahead and write down your insights and what your takeaways were for today, and continue on to watch, in the upcoming days, all the juicy content that's coming to you. And I thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.